Shitakala shukutala leshwinene shukembusha shivona miela. Timami. Shitakala shukutala leshwinene shukembusha shivona miela. Otisela. Shitaela. Otisela. Shitaela. Otisela. Oh my God. This week we are in the greatest home wrecker ever made, as Tuba Malapa of note. I'm joking. This week we are in the Volkswagen Polo GTI, a car that's managed to stand the test of time and bring a smile to consumers and a whole lot of motoring enthusiasts' face over the years. So it's been facelifted and we got it on test, so we need to find out if it's still good enough. So stay tuned. Let's get started with the exterior of the Volkswagen Polo GTI. So this vehicle looks really pretty. I think you guys know it. You're very much accustomed to the Polo GTI. I drove one 2 years back. I drove the red one, so now I have it in white. You have your, in the front, you have your IQ headlamps. You know, I love how the LEDs just go into the badge, giving it a very stealthy and a very sporty look. You know, you have these large tires that it sits on. They are quite thin, so we'll get into that a bit later. You have large tires, this beautiful white color that it's finished in. But you guys know me, I'm not a big fan of white cars because I feel like they look like rentals. But anyway, it's white. On the rear, when you move on the rear, you have your GTI badging underneath the GTI decal underneath the badge. And when you tilt the badge, it's how you open the boot. You do have stickers on the sides of the vehicles that indicate that it is a GTI. So not much to get into when it comes to the exterior of the Polo GTI. It's very much a Polo GTI. It's very much a very pretty car still. And yeah, I think we can we can head on to the interior. On the interior, not much has changed. It still managed to be very much a Polo on the interior. You know, you have your haptic buttons on the steering wheel, which you have a multifunction steering wheel. You have your digital instrument cluster up in front here. You have your infotainment system screen, which is fully touchscreen, does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connectivity. On the bottom here, you have two USB-C ports. You know, you have your climate control menu, which is fully touchscreen, which for me is just a bit, I'm not too happy about that. But in any way, you have your GTI badging on the steering wheel. You have red stitching going on all around the seats and on the steering wheel. A very decent use of quality plastics used in this car. You know, not much to get into. You have this protruding gear lever and all your driving modes are here by the driver, so that's quite cool. You have two cup holders also here, a 12V socket, you know. And I think that is a very nice car. On the interior, there's not much to get into because the interior speaks for itself. You have a small little sunroof, you have a black roof lining, and yeah, I think it's just very much a Polo GTI on the interior. So let's get into the drive of the Volkswagen Polo GTI. So the Polo GTI is a stunning car to drive, right? It's powered by a 2-liter petrol engine that produces 147 kilowatts and 320 Newton meters of torque, mated to a 6-speed dual clutch gearbox, right? Very nice car, very nice to drive. When you put your foot down, obviously the acceleration is there. What I love about it is that in the mornings when you start it, there's a cold start, so it's like in the mornings, and I just can't get over that sound. Even when you're idling and driving and I accelerate a bit, oh man, I can never get over the sound of a GTI. Thank you with the outsurance. Thank you, Malume. Hi. I greeted him. That one is also cute. Okay, so back to the drive of the Volkswagen Polo GTI, right? When you put your foot down, the acceleration is there. It's prompt, it runs. It's very much a Polo GTI. Very nimble, very easy to drive in terms of like maneuverability. It's very nice. Overtaking, cutting and pasting, you can do it very nicely. Acceleration is there, it retains speed, and power retention is absolutely, it's absolutely there. And the sound it makes when it shifts, like, listen. Oh, like the acceleration and the sound of this vehicle is absolutely nice. it is very much a Polo GTI, very little to fault when it comes to that. In terms of fuel consumption, I think when it comes to performance cars, fuel consumption kind of goes out the window because you're not expecting to get plug-in hybrid figures. Like if you want something that does 5 liters per 100 k's, go buy something else. Don't buy this. But I am doing 8.2 liters per 100 k's. I'm left with 45 kilometers on the range, but I am going to fill up. And a full tank range in this car gets you about 400-500 kilometers, which is quite healthy considering the nature of the vehicle. I mean, it's a performance car, but it's nice. It's a very nice car to drive on a daily. I think it will be good. We'll get into the verdict and talk about all those other things, but I think it would be good for going to work, taking the kids to school. You know, it's a very nice spetamabak. It's a very nice run around. It's a very nice car for errands. If you quickly want to just zip from one place to the other, I think the Polo GTI makes a whole lot of sense in that regard. But in terms of driving dynamics, I don't have much to fault about it. Obviously, we'll get into that in the review. Not in the review, man. We are in the review, Riva. We'll get into that in the verdict. But I think in terms of driving, it's pleasurable to drive. It's really something that's very nice to drive. Right, so let's get into the verdict. What do I think of the Volkswagen Polo GTI? So let's start with the things that I don't like. Number one, this Beats audio sound system. It has improved from the pre-facelift one. It has improved immensely, but I'm still not a fan of Beats audio, and I think VW should kind of partner up with a different sound system manufacturer for this car. The Beats audio is not doing this car justice. For me, it's not bad, but it's not up to my liking. The second thing I don't like is how small this car is. Guys, this car is very small. It is very much a hatchback. It's very, very small. And I think after testing SUVs so extensively and getting into something this small, it is a bit of a different experience. I was sitting in the passenger yesterday and I had to literally have my knees by the cabbie hole because there was someone behind me. So fully fledged adults in this car in terms of a road trip, it might be a bit uncomfortable, right? Third thing I don't like is the fact that this thing shifts for you. So if you want to play in manual mode, if you want to play with the pedal shifters behind here, you can't redline. I think back in the day you were able to redline easily. Hold a gear and then change when you want to. But this car, and I think I experienced it in the Golf 8R also, this car, once you reach a certain revs in manual mode, it just changes back to drive. It goes back to automatic. And for me, it takes away the experience of driving a performance car, because then you're thinking for me. You're doing the work for me, if you guys get what I'm trying to say. So those are the things that I really do not like about this car. I'll put the fuel cost on the screen and I'll put the cost of ownership on the screen. This vehicle is priced at 559,000 rand. So let's just ballpark and put it at 600,000 rand. Oh look, at 600,000 rand, right? And I think it's quite expensive considering what this car is. Yes, it's a performance car, but it's the last of this car in its segment. There's no Mazda MPSs anymore. There are no Ford STs anymore. There's no Clio RS anymore. You know, there's not even an i20N. You know, all you have is this and the Swift Sport, but the Suzuki Swift Sport is considerably slower than this. So this is the only car in its segment, the only performance car in its segment. But I think the pricing is a bit too expensive for what the car is. Decent performance car like what I'm looking at here. What is this? This is an M3 or an M4. What? M4, M3. It's an M3. I don't know how much M3s cost, but obviously those kind of cars are already in the 2 million rand price bracket, right? M340 is already in the million, RS3 is in the millions, whatever. And I think with this car being the last of the grades, or the last in its segment or in its price bracket, I think it should be a bit cheaper, right? This car, as it is, should at least be about 550 or 500,000 rand if they want to make it expensive. Because another thing that I picked up that this car doesn't have, it does not have keyless entry. So you still, and I'm like, guys, number one. Number two, no electric tailgate. So very little creature comfort. Number three, also no electric seats. Maybe you guys think that I'm asking for too much, but come on, guys. This car's almost 600,000 rand. You must make it worth my while at 600,000 rand, if you get what I mean, guys. In terms of a drive, it's fun. Obviously, I did mention that it does change for you, so kind of takes away a bit of the drive experience. There's a lot of input and there's a lot of response from steering. When you're steering, it goes where it needs to go. There's a lot of response from the steering in terms of your acceleration. It is there. So it drives very much like a GTI, and it's what you guys know a GTI to be. However, I think the pricing and what this car is, there's a huge disconnect between the two, and I think that's what's breaking my heart. Can I say that the pricing is unjustified? It is a GTI at the end of the day. So obviously it's such a tried and tested nameplate. It's such a nameplate with great cult status. It's a car that I wish everyone should experience and go through. But in this economy, I really do think that almost 600,000 Rand for a very tiny little hatchback, it is a little bit expensive for what the car is at this point. And because it's gotten a facelift, I think they could have done a little bit more to this car, kind of just to retain the customers also. Give it a few more kilowatts, make it 150 kilowatts, maybe 155, just a bit more power, something like that. Still a charming vehicle. But I don't know if I'm making sense, guys. I feel like I'm just rambling. But this car is great and whatever, but the pricing for me is just like, but who must buy a GTI now? You know? Like, who must buy a GTI? So I did do some research, right? And I looked at older GTIs, right? So you had the Polo 6R GTI and the 6C GTI. So those are the Polo 5s, and then they facelifted them, right? We're not going to get into that much. I'll put the pictures on the screen. At launch, the Polo 6C GTI, that GTI, it had 141 kilowatts, and it was priced at what? 330,000 Rand. That was about almost 9-10 years ago. 10 years later, this thing is almost double for the same car with 6 more kilowatts. It's a bit insane. So I think if you have 559, or let's just round it off to 600,000 Rand. If you have 600,000 Rand sitting with you right now, I would highly suggest that you look at something like a Golf 7.5 or a Golf 7. Whether it's a GTI or an R, I think you can get one for just under 600,000 Rand. I personally, if I really wanted a Polo GTI, I would definitely go look at the 6C. I think there's probably ones I can get on the second-hand market that, I mean, it's still a GTI at the end of the day, and they look good, man, with those LEDs. They look good. I'm a bit conflicted when it comes to the pricing of this car, because it's such a great car. It's a great balance between a daily drive and comfort. Even the suspension is not too firm. It's fun and nice and whatever. But the pricing is a bit crazy considering what this car is. So I would suggest you look at that in terms of the performance segment. You can look at a Swift Sport, but it's much slower, and it's a Swift Sport, like it's a Suzuki Swift Sport. You don't have that much trump card go majide ngotsamaka Swift Sport. Awutsamaka GTI, awutsamaka Verpa, awutsamaka Swift Sport King. Sorry, but like, I'm just trying to be like honest. So I don't know, man. I don't know what you guys think. Maybe you guys can comment down below what you guys would do with 600,000 Rand. But yeah, I mean, I think those are the cars I would get at that price point. I think those are the cars I would get. So my ultimate verdict of the Volkswagen Polo GTI will have to be a 7. Very little creature comforts in here. There's no electric seats, you don't have an electric tailgate, you don't have keyless entry. I don't like the Beats audio sound system. It's quite cramped and small to drive. I don't think it's perfect for a family, like a fully fledged family. I think if you have kids, this is a car that you use on your own, and the kids probably have an SUV. You buy something for the kids to go to school in or something like that, right? But if you're like me, no dog, no cat, no man, nothing, it will work. I mean, it'll work. Obviously, I'll spec it better, but it'll probably work for a bachelor like me, or what is it, a bachelorette like me. It will work because Kiwat, right? I can live with it on a daily. However, with this car being the only car in its segment, very little rivals, very little rivals, they could have done a little bit more to kind of retain the customers, guys. A lot of people nowadays are feeling the pinch of the economy, and a lot of people are going to look for value for money. And where do we go when we look for value for money? The Chinese. I understand it's a GTI. I understand gin tonic and ice, school bag, samushimani, panty drop, whatever. All those clan names will apply. It's a GTI at the end of the day. But how long should we now accept exorbitant pricing for a car that has very little engine upgrades over the years, if you guys get what I mean? So I don't know, man. I don't know what you guys think. I think I'm very conflicted in this review, but I think a 7 is fine because this car is actually great. It is great, but the pricing for me is just something else. I don't know. I'm a bit speechless when it comes to the pricing. And that is it from me, maseve. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Do let me know what you guys are getting with 600,000 Rand. I hope you guys were watching the ads throughout this review. Please do watch the ads. Don't forget to watch the ads. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to share with a friend of a friend of a friend. Share with your lovers. Share with your exes. Share with your sides. Share with your bites. Share with your sneaky link. Share with your situationship. Share this video. Share the channel. I'm joking. I'm just rambling now. But do let me know what you guys think of the Volkswagen Polo GTI and what you guys are getting for about 600,000 Rand. I did say that everyone needs to go through a GTI phase, but now can everyone afford a GTI phase? It is a bit expensive. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. And yeah, I need to go look for food. What time is it? Yeah, I need to go look for food. Alrighty guys, bye bye. I'll see you in the next one.